Okay, we are live in March 31st, 2026. Um, it's been an interesting couple weeks since our last show. I guess it's been about 3 weeks since our last show. So looking forward to we've got less than 2 weeks um, for our next show. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what's going on and with the changes. I'm gonna give you guys some back end or behind the scenes stuff so that I don't really normally do, and I'm not gonna make a habit of it. Maybe I will. I don't know, because it's interesting to me, but maybe not to other people. I'll wait for a bit to a few, get started here. I need to have I'm going to be stepping up the game here. I know I keep saying that, but I really am. I'm going to get focused more, and I have an agenda, a plan on what I'm going to do, and I really need to get this little. I want to have a little intro here on the video. So I need to find somebody to do that. I have somebody I inquired about making a new updating our logo. We're going to be getting new vendor badges. And I'm going to be ordering t-shirts. So I don't know if they'll be here by the 12th, but I'm going to be ordering, new merch and stuff and various other things. So lots going on my end. So I wanted to start out by saying, hey, by talking about a guest that I'm working on, that has told us kind of no a couple times. And I'm working on Tampa Toy Con guests. That's going to be a show that we're going to have multiple guests on. Hey, Marcy, thank you for coming out. Yeah, it should be an amazing event. I'm a little bit, honestly, I'm a little bit worried about um, having a lot of people there. I mean, it is our first time there. The space is decent size, but it's not super large, which is why I didn't book that building. I want to say previous. Avanti was making Avanti was doing pretty well for us, but it's also now hard to book, and I'll get into that also. I mean, it's venues are harder to book in general. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. And hey, Mike, and I'm gonna send you a copy of this flyer that I'm gonna share, so you can share it. And hey, Tony, thank you for stopping by. I assume you have a thing starting up at 8 o'clock, and maybe some of our video stuff here can be some interesting info. I'm assuming you're going to be talking about Toylanta, but I'm going to be talking about Toylanta a little bit too. So let's see. Okay, I'll try to get to that before 8. Anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate everybody watching. That's here live, and then I appreciate all the views that we get afterwards. I am going to be putting more content on YouTube, so please subscribe to our YouTube there, and I'll be doing some exclusive stuff there. I plan to anyway. Okay. So thanks thanks Tony on the Godzilla. Yeah, this is kind of my my theme of the day. My theme of the day. Okay, is Godzilla. Because that's I've been wanting to stomp some stuff, pretty much all day. My wife is laughing because she's been listening to me rant most of the day. And then I appreciate my friend Mark Moriarty here for giving me the knowledge to move on. Okay. So let me go over a couple, just, talk about the show, and then I'm going to come back and just and I'll get back to my stomping whatever. Anyway, I want to say that I've been working on getting we have let me just see if I have I'm going to try to share this actually with you guys. Give me a moment here. I'm going to create a share and share screen, and then I'll just, I think, okay. So you guys may, if you guys are familiar with Superman 1 and 2, you are familiar with these villains, okay? And what we've done is Mr. Zod, I think his name was Nan or something. I don't remember the character's name, but this is Jack O'Halloran, and he lives in St. Pete somewhere, and we contracted him to come to the Tampa Toy Con. All right. And so, because he is coming to Tampa Toy Con, he was going to come to our MegaCon event too, but we didn't have that. But that's going to change for next year. Okay. I'm putting it out there now. Anyway, so because we have Jack here for July 11th and 12th of this year. I know I haven't put that out there, the show out there, because I'm working on guests, and then I'm going to put in stuff, and then I'm going to put the show out there. So and then I've been trying to get Mark, who also I believe, I don't know. Anyway, I've been trying to get Mark too, who is in Back to the Future. He was actually in all of the Christopher Reeves Supermans. Today is his birthday. I did ask about him before to try to get him, but he's kind of, he hasn't said yes yet. So I'm hoping that I can put this together, but I'm throwing it out there that I am working on it. So, I just wanted to mention that. But of course, I shared this earlier, and to me, look, I don't build my shows around. Let me go ahead and just add him, because I don't build the shows around, and I'll get into the reasons, all that in a minute. But I don't. You guys already know that I don't build my shows around guests. I don't do that because really, it's really about the stuff. It's not about guests. Everyone else does their show around guests. But this guest is a special one for me, and I would say most of the people that are in the toy collecting, as far as G.I. Joe or Transformers, or really even down here to Garfield. I don't know if my wife saw that, but so Greg Berger will be at the Altamont show. And I believe we'll have a video next week. I'll be posting, hoping I'll have a video next week. And so he'll be our only guest. Okay. We're not going to have 10 guests or 5 guests or whatever. We will have that at Tampa Toy Con in July, but here, and I'm hoping that he has a great time. And you guys come out and get autographs from him and everything like that. And that way we can have him at future shows. Okay. So this is his first time with us. And so we want him to have a great, we want him to have a great time. Okay. So come on out. He is the voice of Grimlock and G1, Grimlock from the cartoon. And he also looks like he did some G.I. Joe stuff. He's Jetfire or Skyfire in the cartoon, a Constructicon. Again, G.I. Joe characters and other characters, okay, from the 80s. So please come out, and this is going to be a great show. All right. A quick little, and I'll repeat this at the end, but a quick little update on the show as far as vending. Okay, Altamont again sold out. I have a waiting list for that. I have lots of people that want, and I appreciate that we have a waiting list. Tampa Collector Fest is now sold out also for April. I know we run about 150 tables there, somewhere in there, and that is sold out. I do still have some space in North Florida in St. Augustine, because that is a big space. It's 12,000 square feet. So it's a big space to do. And but I'm almost out of space in Port St. Lucie. I still got some space in Kissimmee because we're doing the big show. You guys have pushed me to do the big room, so now I got the big room, and so I now need to fill it. So we've got a big 25,000 square foot room there. I don't think I'm gonna rope off, I think, some of it, or I mean drape off some of it. So Ocala, I basically have like one table left. So if you want it in on Ocala, you need to hit me up, okay? Or go on to our website. All of the applications are on the website. All right, let me go ahead and I'm gonna get to my little agenda here, and we got to pull out the Mike here. I'll come. Before I do that though, I'm gonna go ahead and again say, hey, what's up to Richard and Zeta. I appreciate you guys' support. So again, I'm just bringing this out because I'm going to talk about, basically, I'm going to be talking about other shows, and I'm going to be talking about the business of shows. Because this last month I've been, we've been 3 weeks since our other show, our last show, and I've been in the meantime, I'm dealing with other people in their opinions of whatever they think things should be like, and then I feel like I kind of got punked this last weekend. Okay, that's just how I'm feeling. I'm not blaming anybody specifically. That's the words that I used. Okay, because basically, I feel like I should have had a booth. I'm not doing this. I'm done. I'm not signing up for somebody else's show. I'm not even going to attempt to get a booth at someone else's show. I don't care. Okay. So I'm going to, just a quick little background. I'm going to give you a quick little background. I'm not going to bore you guys. But I'm going to just say, look, this year marks 30 years that I've worked for myself. I started my own website business when nobody was doing websites in 96. And then I basically, I didn't have a job. I haven't had a job for 30 years, basically. Okay. And yeah, since I met my wife in 98. And so I've been, 97. So 96, when I was in college, I started Dream Sites. That's my website. So if you get on the credit card and stuff like that, you'll see Dream Sites. Vendors, when you see Dream Sites, that's something that I started in 1996 when I was in my early 20s. And then when later in during that time, I had salespeople that came and they tried to take my business. I had people that worked for me that tried to take my business. I had people that sold, that tried to take my name and my ideas and all that stuff, and they tried to take my customers. Okay, and so over time, I learned that people they don't like successful people. They want to take what you have. Okay, instead of building their own or asking, hey, how do I do that? Okay, so I've been doing this for 30 years. 30 years I've been playing this game with people, and how they're going to come in, they're going to come in and they're going to try to, basically screw me up. All right. So I'm basically aware of that. In 2008, 2009, I had again another business. I had a residual. I personally hosted over 400 websites in 2008. Okay. And so I hosted a lot of other people's websites. I still host websites now. I'm not interested in doing the work, or, the whole business has changed. Okay. And but in 2009, I had somebody that came in and tried to steal all my customers. They were calling them, I had illegal software and all this stuff. So again, I fought that. Okay. Because people, they can't just go and get their own. They got to try to attack somebody. They got to try to take somebody else's stuff. All right. And so what I'm trying to say is that, this is not my first rodeo. This is not my first thing. And I might appear like I'm not serious about what I'm doing. I have a lot of fun doing the shows. Okay. But what customers don't know, and I'm glad they don't know, is that there's a lot that goes behind the scenes that make these shows happen. There's a lot of politics that happens behind these people. There's a lot of people that pretend that they're your friend, and they're not your friend, because they're just there to glean off whatever. Okay. And then everyone has an opinion. We already know the saying that goes with that. Okay. And so what I'm looking at is data. I run my shows based on data. All right. Now, like when I first started, it was just about buying these toys. That's what I cared about. But around 2022, I changed because the whole business changed. You know, when COVID was over and everyone was going back to their you know, their normal show stuff, I had to make an adjustment because, you know, I went to MegaCon a couple of weeks ago, you know, and there's a bunch of vendors there that don't set up with me anymore because whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is. I'm not big enough for them, I guess. That's pretty much the gist. You know, my shows aren't big enough. Everybody wants to do the big show. Well, I remember when I started, I was told to only do 4 shows a year. If I wanted to have people at the show, I needed to have 4 shows a year. And I ignored that. I ignored that. Obviously, I ignored that because we're doing 25 plus shows. And the reality is some vendors, I said this last time, some vendors would love it if we had a show every weekend. We're not doing that because, you know, I got to have some time to, you know, I love organizing my room here. I love the stuff that I buy. I want to be able to look at it, you know, not just sit here and work all the time. You know, Mike, next week when we do this, I think I'm going to show 1996, Jeff, because I do have a picture of me in a newspaper when I started my first summer. And it was weird because people, I would go in and try to sell them something, a website. Yeah, yep. I'm open to listening to people, but here's the reality. Okay. Florida is very unique. Okay. I'm gonna, and I could have these percentages wrong, but I would bet money that at least 80%, or probably 90% of the people that live here moved from somewhere else. They're not people that grew up here, including myself. All right. People up north, like in Ohio or other places, there's lots of vintage toys. Here, the vintage toys are kind of scarce. Okay. You're tripping over vintage stuff up north. I think that's a reality. I think we can agree on that, or maybe not. We won't agree, but the reality is, and I want to make sure, Tony, I'm not referring to you. I haven't even gotten to my thing yet. Okay. So I'm not really even talking to Tony here. I'm not even referring to you, but I will say that people have this idea that my show can be Ohio Xenia show. It can't. We don't have those vendors here. We don't have the product here. Okay. That's the bottom line. Okay. So, but that's not even what I'm referring to. So what I'm referring to is, so I plan on, you know, I have a lot of stuff, you know, that I don't need. I spend so many, I mean, I would say vendors know that, but I spend a lot of money with vendors. All the toys that you see in this room that have come from my shows, basically. I would say I had maybe, I can't even think of anything that I can look at that I didn't buy at a show from a vendor. Okay. In the last 6-7 years, because we've been this is our 7th year running this, or 6, something like that. Anyway, so I guess where I'm going is that, you know, I need to sell some stuff too, and I don't have time. I'm focused at my shows. I'm focused on the show. I'm focused on getting the show running. I don't have time to organize my stuff and then price it and all of that. Okay. I'm focused on making sure vendors can make money. That's what I'm focused on. And so, so, you know, what I wanted to try to do is I wanted to try to set up, I wanted to sign up to a booth. And then somebody gave him a good recommendation, supposedly. Someone reliable. I think when they tell me that, they're not bullshitting me. Okay. So 2 months go by and I don't hear nothing. Zippo. And then there's other people that have 2 booths, and then some of my other vendors get booths, but I don't even hear a fucking fuck you. I don't hear nothing. I hear 0. Okay. Now I canceled. Now I will say, and Dutch is on here, you know, and, you know, a couple years ago, I said I was going to Atlanta, which I am coming to north. Okay. I don't know where I'm going to go first, but I am coming north, eventually. All right. But, I'm getting all my ducks in a row. All right. And then, but the reality is, so I was told, Dutch said, hey, these guys are, you know, telling you they don't want you here. They don't want you here. That's what I'm hearing. Now, even today, I was poking a vendor about him, you know, posting pictures, you know, about how fun it was at the show and all that. And he goes, I said, he got kind of mad at me. And I was like, well, hey, you know what? I got punked. I'm not going to let you guys do this to me again. I literally, you know, did my whole schedule in March around this guy's show because I thought I would have a booth in February 1st. I could have done a show last weekend. Come on, man. But no, I thought, hey, I was going to have a chance to go and hang out with some of my other friends that, you know, that I know from Alabama and all these other people that I met. But no, there wasn't even there was not even you know, a FU or we don't want you here or nothing. There was nothing. And then all weekend I sat around here watching all these people going to the dinners, going hanging out. Yeah, I could have done that. I could have went and spent money on nothing. But I didn't. I hung out here. But it's not going to happen again. I can tell you that. You're not punking me again. That was the last punk that you're going to get on Jeff. Okay? So, and then as far as vendors that want to go up there, have at it. Have at it. You want to go to all the way, you know, 10 hours to Georgia for a weekend? Awesome. You know, it's a great show. And Joe Fest is an amazing show. But the reality is that customers here, the customers, not the vendors, but the customers, most customers that are here in Florida ain't going there. They won't even drive 50 miles, let alone 300. Most people are local. So I'm just saying that, yes, you got me this time, but I ain't, whatever happened, because I believe somebody else told this guy not to give me a booth. That's what I believe. I don't know who it was, but I'm just telling you, that's what I think. Okay? That's what I think. All right. Now, Collector's Hideout. Now, I don't know who this is, but that's okay. I'm going to tell you. I applied. Someone said I should lie and tell them I'm somebody else. I'm not going to do that. Okay? I contacted them in January. And my vendors got booths. You know, my vendors got booths like 2 weeks ago. So I didn't get an invoice. I didn't get an email saying, sorry, we're full, you know, and you know what? I've done that too. I'm going to call myself out here. Sometimes when people apply and I don't have space for them, I leave them sitting there until maybe somebody cancels so I can place them in there. Or, you know, I'm just not ready to tell them, no, I can't have you. Like, I reject a lot of people. Okay, guys, I reject a lot of people. Now, 90% of those rejections, I would say the rejections are usually a gutter person, somebody that's in professional services. They want a booth. Sorry, I'm not giving you a booth. Food, I can't give you a booth because most of the time I can't have food there. I do ask for the chocolate guy, Andy. I appreciate his support. I'm only gonna have like maximum 2 3D guys. I mean, there's a lot of them that are applying, so I'm not going to have them do that. Okay. We're getting a lot of Pokemon. There is 10 shows a weekend in Orlando. This last weekend, there was like 10 card shows, is what I was told. And yet I'm still getting now I'm done. We'll have a decent amount in Tampa because there's a lot of my friends that have been with me for a long time that have converted to Pokemon. So we're gonna have a few vendors there in Tampa. More so than I would say other places that we've had. But I'm still denying most of them because we just have I'm trying to design the show so that when customers walk in there, okay, there it's a variety. It's a variety. Okay. And I want more vintage. I want more vintage, but the reality is the vintage guys they say to me, hey, these guys that don't set up, a lot of vintage guys that we had, they either went and opened a store. Okay, I'll give you an example. Guillermo's been to our show. I mean, he does other shows. I'm not really sure why he doesn't do our show, but I don't have any. I haven't asked him. I haven't, but he has a store. He has a big nut down there to cover down there in Sunrise. Cool guy, great stuff. Talked to him at MegaCon. But he doesn't do the shows anymore. We have another guy down in Sarasota. He can only do Sunday shows because he has a store. There's a lot of people that open stores. And then some of the other vintage guys that we had in the past, they're like, we only do big shows. They've like straight out told me, we only do big shows. And then when they come back and they come into my little show and want to buy shit, they act like I'm not supposed to be upset that they're at my show. Because they come and go, well, we made 20 grand last weekend. I don't give a crap about your 20 grand. Okay. I care about my show and the people that are at my show. That's what I care about. I mean, I'm happy for everybody that makes money, but my 100%, I don't have grandkids. I don't have all that. I don't have nothing. This is it. I work 7 days a week on this, other than the time I take off. So I don't have a store. This is not a side project. This is what I do. Okay. Everything is about Florida toy shows. All right. Now I'm sorry if I got anybody upset. I don't normally do this, but it was very upsetting that this happened. Okay. And it's not going to happen again. Okay. It's not going to happen again because I don't care about everybody else's show. And what I mean by that is, I care about your show. Okay. I want everyone to do well, but I can't work around everybody. And I certainly can't work around somebody that's 800 miles away. Okay. I have people going, well, that's Chicago weekend. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I can't work around Chicago. Give me a break. All right. So again, guys, one other thing that I want to say is that, promoters come to my show and I know they're recruiting vendors. I'm not dumb. I just want to say that, all of them, they all do that. And that's okay with me. That's okay with me. My job is to make the show to where vendors want to sign up. That's what I care about. I know that other promoters are going to come in. We've had them. They don't even ask. They don't, we want to put out now that's the magazine is going to change that, I think, because I'm going to try to include everyone, but I understand the game here. Okay. And it is becoming like, I mean, I want to use, we have this war going on. So to me, it's a chess game. It's a war. And I'm just trying to stay in the game here. Okay. And it takes a lot of work. All right, guys. All right. Now, in general, I'm a happy guy. I know sometimes you maybe have heard that in the mornings I go off or whatever. I'm just very passionate about my shows. I'm very passionate about these. I'm very passionate that it's taken me 30 years of business to finally have something that's successful that I'm very proud of. And I'm not going to let some bullshit screw it up. All right. So, you know, and so anyway, I just wanted to say that. So, I appreciate all the vendors. I appreciate all you guys. And I'm going to leave this video up for a little while. I'll probably eventually take it down because I did get a little crazy here, but I didn't mean to do that. I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just making it known that, look, I'm about Florida toy shows, and that's it. All right. Now, it is actually going to be called collector events. So when I explain, expand out, because I am going to be expanding. All right. It's going to be collector events, but this event business is what I do. This is all I do. Okay. So anyway, let me go ahead and go through some comments, and then again, I'm going to come back to the shows. Looks like Lisa. Okay. So collectors, usually those big shows sell out several months in advance. In this case, it didn't. I was told by another vendor, that they had plenty of space when I applied, and then vendors after me were and then it's not that I was a show promoter, because there's another show promoter that told me that they had 2 booths. So it's just Jeff is what it is. Okay. Yeah, that is true, Lisa. She was saying that the show was still not full when we were in Vegas at the end of February. That was.
Yep.
Yeah, they weren't sold out.
We had vendors calling us, telling them that they still had space available.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm still kind of. I'll be honest with you, Tony. I'm still a little crazy on this whole Roscon thing, but I don't understand what you really are. I mean, to me, when I started out, I wanted to be a vintage toy show. Okay. But then when COVID hit and it changed the whole thing changed. I had everyone. I had everyone. I had comic vendors. I had artists. I had everyone. Everyone was, because I was the only game in town. Okay. And I knew it wasn't going to last. That's why I worked 7 days a week to put on shows when I started. And then I realized as these vendors went away, okay, I said, well, hey, look, now I've built a business that my whole life is around this show. And so now I have to adjust to the fact that I only have a certain amount of vendor pool. There's only a certain amount of vendors that want to vend, that want to sell stuff, that want to work. So, and then I also realized that if I called myself Retro Con, that I had vendors that said, "Oh, I don't fit retro, so I don't want to sign up," and then I wouldn't be able to grow my space to bigger spaces. I mean, some people might remember we had like 60 or 70,000 square feet at the Florida State Fairgrounds, like in 2022. It was a disaster.
23.
No, I'm talking about before RetroCon. I'm talking about when we had the event center over there.
Oh, yeah.
That was a disaster because we had too much space. We had too much space for the amount of people that were coming. So I narrowed the space down. I know how many people are going to come. I don't have a long lead time on marketing. There's only so much marketing money that I can spend in time. Okay. And, I'm spending more than I would say anybody I know. Okay. Anybody that I know, I spend more than them. I spend somebody's freaking annual wage on just Facebook ads. Okay. So what I'm saying is that, what I figured out is that our shows are called Collector Fest. And in order to be, what that allows me to have anybody I want to bring in. So if I want to have the show bigger, I can. So if I was just focusing on vintage vendors, I would be out of business because there aren't enough vintage vendors to even have a show every quarter. I mean, that are strictly vintage. I'd love to have them, but that's just the way it is. That's the way I see it. Maybe other people prove me wrong. I'm fine. That's fine. But that's the way it is. So I built the the business around variety. When I started, I thought this was a guy's show. I wanted a guy's weekend. I wanted a guy's thing. Like, you know, I used to go and there's always these women's this and women's that and women's part, whatever, you know, and I wanted a guy's show. But the reality hit is that there's women that collect. There's women that want to come with their husbands to buy stuff, whether it's Barbies or maybe they're into G.I. Joe. I don't know. My point is that they want to come and shop too. So I need to include stuff for them. Okay? I got to be live in reality. So I learned, no, I need to have more stuff. I would go to these shows that were geared around women's stuff. So then I was like, you know what? We need to have more of that. So I made adjustments. I'm still making adjustments. And so this is how I got here. So I'm not pretending to be a vintage toy show. I'm just not. I mean, I want to be, and I want more vintage. But the reality is that we're doing a show. We're going to do 7 shows in 60 days. Okay. So when some vendor says that I'm not doing enough, in 60 days, we're going to have around 7 events. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know who else is doing 7 events in 60 days and getting at least 10,000 people to show up. Okay. And you know, so, and they're all full, and most of them, the vendor space is mostly full already for most of those right now. So, I appreciate Dutch being here. I mean it. I wanted to stop into his house. Dutch is from Georgia. His wife comes down for the Jacksonville shows. He's got some health issues I wish he didn't have, but I appreciate Dutch you watching tonight. And again, I'm sorry that I'm doing like this. But you know, and thanks a lot, Mike. Let's see. Yeah, we do your show anyway, and just bring these new people. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to bring in new people all the time. Allowed to get on now and then. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate your feedback. Again, I'm not going to be doing this every time, guys. It's just, you know, I've had a bit about, I've had a rough couple of weeks, you know, with this whole thing. Cause I mean, you know, it was going to be like $2,000 for me to go up there and just hang out. I don't know about if you guys got an extra $2,000, but I woke up on Thursday going, what the hell? I don't have a booth. I don't have nothing. I'm not going up there. I had to cancel my hotel room. It turns out I had a hotel from Thursday to Sunday, and that was going to be like $1,200 by itself. So I would have had like over 2,000. That's if I didn't buy anything. So, you know, I mean, I know people think that I got lots of money and stuff, but I don't. I spend most of the money goes right back into the show. I mean, I got deposits on events all the way to frickin' October, you know, the end of the year. I mean, it's really, that's cool, Tony. And hey, if you guys want to, when you leave here, I'm going to be closing this out here in a few minutes. Go over to check out Tony's Shellhead Toys' thing. And Chris, thank you for coming out, and we'll see you in that. And then he goes, actually needs to be done. I love everything you're saying, because there's a little guy out there collecting, and then there's the people with deep pockets. Yeah, you know, and that's the thing, is that, you know, I'm really about most of the people. I mean, the shows, and I'm going to sit there, I'm going to be the first person to say, hey, look, well, I mean, I'm being the first person in this video to say, those shows are great. Okay, Toyland and Joy Fest, I've been to them. They're great shows. Okay, to me, they're a guys hangout weekend. Okay, it's a great event, but it's once a year. Once a year. Try that 3 times a month, twice a month. You ain't gonna have the same crowd. You're not gonna have the same amount of vendors. So that's all I'm saying. Okay, it's a great show though. It's a great show. I do your show because of the way you run them. Organize, not care about vendors, just money. You care and do a good job. So continue to do your shows. I appreciate your feedback there, Jarek, and you're always the first one that signs up in Fort Myers, man. I'm really impressed. Okay. We do really work hard. And, you know, I believe I am in the vendor business. Okay. The war that I talk about is really about vendors. You know, it's really about vendors. Customers, if you have great items, what I've learned is if you have great items, great stuff, customers will come and you market it. You got to market it, you got to advertise. But if you have great stuff to sell, then people are coming. That's what I think. You know, that's what I believe. So it's about having great vendors with great stuff. And that's really what I battle. That and venues, because of all the card shows and all the other shows where people are just like coming out of the woodwork, it's harder to it's harder to book put the book of spaces now. And that's another reason why we're at Altamont, because Avanti has been booked up. I mean, it's like every other day there's a new show. At least that's my view. Maybe I'm too close to it. I don't know. Yeah, no, I agree with that, Seth. Today, again, I just, you know, again, I'm sitting here, I felt like I should have been up north, and then, you know, I didn't go because I really had no reason to go other than I just wanted to hang out. And I just decided I didn't want to spend $2,000 to do that. You know, but you know, I'm jealous of everybody's fun. I'll be, you know, that's straight up. And it just bothered me. So when I feel like somebody threw me under the bus or talked crap about me and then decided, oh, we're just going to play this guy and we're not going to tell him, you know, or we're not going to give him a booth, then, you know, I feel slighted. So now I'm on this thing. August, thanks. The best time. This one vendor. Thank you, Jeff. And I appreciate everybody. You know, I'm and all your vendors. Yeah, I think the shows that we run, you know, we aren't the biggest show. Okay, we don't run the biggest events. In, you know, as far as attendance, you know, but I think overall, if we put our shows together, we blow away big shows. Okay. It's just a matter of, you got to come to them. You know, I was told by a vendor this last weekend, they did about, and I'm just going to give you guys some quick numbers. And then I'll let you go. Mark, I'm talking about how I was supposed to do 4 shows and now I do 25, and yet people still come. That's what Mark was at my first show. But you know, somebody recently did a show, a 3-day weekend. They said they sold about $7,000. Their booth was like $1,200. And so, but I've had people that, you know, that same vendor has been to our show and done $5,000 in one day in 6 hours. So does that happen every show? No, but it really depends on product, I think, and the crowd. So, you know, one show might not be that great, and Diana could probably mention, because she said that she didn't have a very good Jesus sells a lot of Star Wars, and he didn't have she said it, you know, West Palm wasn't very good for them. And so, hey, and that's fine. Or I mean, it's not fine that it was bad, but it's okay that they're not doing the show again because they didn't feel that was their customer base. I totally, that's totally fine. But basically, so, you know, I just think it depends on the crowd and the product and all that. But so I'm not trying to run the biggest attended events. I don't want MegaCon. I don't even want a close to that. I mean, that would be just a nightmare to run, you know, as far as the amount of people that run it and everything. I've said that before and all that. So, okay, I'm going to move on, and I appreciate Diana helping me with this. Altamont is going to be awesome. Okay, again, we're going to have Greg Berger, which is just going to be amazing. Okay, as far as a guest, I'm really looking forward to him being a guest, and I'm really liking it. So hopefully you guys will come out. And again, I do have tables at a lot of these. However, a bunch of them are kind of full, especially Ocala. Tallahassee is pretty open right now, but the ads are going to be running for that here, starting tomorrow. So, and then Coral Springs is actually getting, a little full also. So in Fort Myers, I still got plenty of on these late July stuff, and I totally understand, people got lots of other stuff going on. So, but everything on here is confirmed. I have 3 different ideas for the 7th. So one of those is going to pan out here pretty soon. Okay. So as far as Tampa goes, I could have had, here's what I'm doing, guys, on the Tampa guest situation. I want to have, I could have had, like, I believe we're gonna have Keown, the guy who played Starscream. I'm working on a great guest list for July for Tampa, and I don't want, and including, I'm going to try to get Greg maybe for Tampa if he has a great time here. I'm gonna try to get Greg for Tampa in July. And so the July Tampa, because of basically the war going on and the gas prices, the airline tickets are going up. They're very expensive to bring somebody here right now. And I'm kind of pushing the Tampa guests to July. Okay. So we're going to have like 5 or 6 guests in July. It's going to be amazing. I know we're going to have a Batmobile. I'm going to bring a bunch of my Batman stuff to the show. And I'm going to try to have, if you guys remember, we had a cake last year. That cake was like $4,000 if you went and bought it. Okay. It was the Trench Run cake. We're going to have a Batmobile cake this year. I think I got to talk to the cake guy, but that's the plan. We're going to give out cake again, Batmobile cake. Okay. And so I'm looking to, fill that. So that's my focus, is the Tampa Toy Con, other than our normal shows that we're doing that you see on the list. But as far as guests go, I'm really mostly focused on guests. We may have a guest in Kissimmee or, one of these other shows. But I'm really kind of gearing up to have guests mostly be at Tampa Toy Con. Okay. And then maybe here and there where we can get them, but it's really about costs right now on the, on the flights. I mean, I wanted to bring in, Keown. I'm trying to remember his last name. He played, Storm Shadow. And I think the flight was like $1,700 just for or $1,500 or so for what the flight that he wanted for like a business class type site, deal. That's a direct flight and all that. But I mean, it's just, I flew and my flight came from Michigan a couple weeks ago, and it was a major disaster. So we're going to wait there. And okay, cool. Awesome. August. All right, guys. Again, I appreciate all of you, coming out, watching, and I appreciate all of you coming to the shows. I'm sorry if I got a little off the reservation here, but I feel a lot better that I've been able to tell you, how I feel, you guys. So, and really kind of put it out there that, look, Jeff is serious. I'm a serious, person as far as the business of the shows go, and so sometimes I don't know, I'm very thankful for everything that we have and what we've been able to put together here, and then all of the customers that come and vendors that sign up. And so hopefully I'll just be able to continue to do this for the foreseeable future. And we'll be back next week with, I don't think a rant. I assume not a rant, but we'll see. It's basically, the theme is whatever has happened that day. And I'm going to try to do like a vlog thing, but I really missed Adam there. He's inspired so many people, but anyway, I will see you.
Next week we talk about Ultimate.
Yeah, that's right. Next week we should have a video from, because I was asked if I wanted a video, and I said, well, let's just wait till I hit the flyers out there, and then he can look and see whatever. and then he can make a video. So hopefully we'll have a video by next week, from Greg, and we'll see. And the setup is going to be Sunday, the show day. That's April 12th, Sunday at 6:30. Yes, sir. Okay. Have a great evening, guys. I'll leave this video up for a little while. Probably won't leave it up like I normally would do. So, but we'll see you. We'll see you next week, 7:30. Bye now.